What I'm going to show you here are foods that doctors, nutritionists, and even your own body consider healthy, and that, depending on your health history, are silently overloading your kidneys every single day without you even realizing it. And the worst part? The more you try to take care of your health, the more you consume these foods. Stay until the end, because the last one on the list is what surprises people the most. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, what state are you from? I want to understand where the people who truly care about their health are coming from. It's always interesting to see where this more health-conscious crowd lives. Let's start with spinach. Yes, the one everyone puts in their green smoothie, their omelet, their salad, the symbol of healthy eating. The problem isn't spinach itself. The problem is what it carries in absurd amounts. Oxalate. Oxalate is a compound that, when it enters the body in excess, binds to calcium in the kidneys and forms crystals. Those crystals are the foundation of kidney stones, calcium oxalate stones, the most common type among Americans. And here's the point nobody talks about. Raw spinach has a far higher oxalate concentration than cooked spinach. So that person who drinks raw spinach in a green juice every single day, thinking they're doing their kidneys a favor, may in practice be delivering a load that the kidneys simply cannot process efficiently. The kidneys filter and filter and filter. But when the volume of oxalate exceeds the body's elimination capacity, accumulation begins. And silent accumulation is exactly the language of kidney disease. You feel nothing until you feel everything at once. Now, sweet potato, the darling of weight management, pre-workout nutrition, and functional eating. And yes, it has real benefits. Fiber, potassium, antioxidants. But it's precisely the potassium that's the red flag for anyone with compromised kidney function. The kidneys are the primary regulators of potassium in the blood. When they work well, the excess is eliminated through urine without issue. But when there's any degree of kidney dysfunction, even mild, even if you don't know you have it, potassium starts accumulating in the bloodstream. And hyperkalemia, the medical term for excess potassium in the body, is not something to take lightly. It directly interferes with heart rhythm. We're talking about arrhythmia. We're talking about the heart. Sweet potato is not the villain. But consumed in large portions every day without proper monitoring, it may be generating an invisible pressure on your body's filtration system. Red meat is a chapter of its own. And I'm not going to say what everyone else says, that it has saturated fat, that it raises cholesterol. You already know that. What I want to show you is what happens inside the kidney when you consume red meat in excess. When the body metabolizes animal protein, it produces urea and creatinine as byproducts. Those waste products need to be filtered and eliminated by the kidneys. The more animal protein you consume, the more work you impose on the renal filtration system. In people with fully preserved kidney function, this is manageable. But think about this. Do you know someone who had a blood test and found out their creatinine was slightly elevated? Because this is far more common than most people realize, and it's often completely asymptomatic. Now imagine that person consuming large portions of red meat every day, thinking they're building muscle or maintaining their health. Their kidneys are operating above capacity, continuously, with no noticeable symptoms whatsoever. The point is not to eliminate red meat. The point is to understand that it carries a real metabolic cost for the kidneys, and that cost needs to be factored into any truly conscious health routine. Raisins, the ones that go in fruit salad, yogurt, granola, trail mix, they seem harmless. They're small, they're sweet, they're natural. The problem lies precisely in concentration. When a grape goes through the dehydration process, everything inside it gets compressed into a much smaller volume. That includes sugar, potassium, and oxalate. A small portion of raisins contains a significantly higher concentration of potassium and oxalate than the same amount of fresh grapes. And because they're dense, flavorful, and easy to overeat, most people end up consuming far more than they think. For the kidneys, that translates to a higher filtration load, greater risk of stone formation, and more pressure on a system that already works nonstop, 24 hours a day. It's not the end of the world, but it's a warning that deserves attention. Now we reach something very few people associate with kidney health: pickles and olives. They show up in low-carb diets, in more restrictive eating protocols, and among people looking for fermented foods for their gut microbiome benefits. And that's where the silent mistake lives. Both pickles and processed olives are preserved in solutions loaded with sodium. And excess sodium is one of the greatest enemies of kidney health. What does excess sodium do in the body? It retains fluid, raises blood pressure, and increases calcium excretion through urine, which in turn promotes kidney stone formation. And high blood pressure, one of the direct effects of excess sodium, is the second leading cause of chronic kidney disease in the United States. You might be eating pickles thinking you're doing your gut a favor, while at the same time placing pressure on your kidneys without realizing it. Tell me in the comments, do you regularly consume fermented foods? I'm genuinely curious about the habits of the people who watch this channel. Dried apricots are another one that lives on health food store shelves with a functional food image. Rich in iron, fiber, antioxidants, all true. But dried apricots are also extremely high in potassium. A small portion, around 3.5 ounces, can contain over 1,000 milligrams of potassium. For a healthy person, that may be manageable. For someone with any degree of kidney impairment, even without a formal diagnosis, that represents a significant load. And the point that concerns me most is this. The United States has an extremely high prevalence of hypertension and diabetes, the two leading causes of kidney disease. That means a massive portion of the population is already living with some degree of kidney dysfunction without having had recent enough lab work to know it. These people are consuming dried apricots, sweet potato, spinach, and raisins thinking they're investing in their health. And nobody has ever told them anything different. And now we reach the last one, the one that surprises people the most. It's not exotic, it's not rare, it's in almost every home. Ready-made meals and ultra-processed foods. But I'm not going to talk about them the way everyone else does. I'm not going to talk about additives, preservatives, or ingredients you can't pronounce. I want to focus on something more specific, the combination of sodium, phosphorus, and potassium that these products carry in concentrations no natural food would ever have on its own. Phosphorus is the element that concerns me most in this equation. It's present in large amounts in ultra-processed foods in the form of phosphate additives, and this form is absorbed by the body far more efficiently than the phosphorus found in natural foods. What do the kidneys do with excess phosphorus? They try to eliminate it. But when kidney function is compromised, phosphorus accumulates in the blood, begins interfering with calcium and parathyroid hormone metabolism, and triggers a process that damages bone health, cardiovascular health, and kidney function all at the same time. And the most frightening part? You feel nothing. Excess phosphorus in the blood doesn't hurt. It doesn't cause obvious fatigue. It produces no immediately identifiable symptom. It works silently, exactly the way chronic kidney disease works. No warning, until the damage is already done. People who consume ready-made meals regularly, even just a few times a week, are exposing their kidneys to a load of sodium, phosphorus, and additives that the body was never designed to process at that frequency or concentration. So let's recap what we covered today. Raw spinach in excess, oxalate, sweet potato in large portions,
Okay.
potassium, red meat in excess, protein overload, raisins, concentrated potassium and oxalate, pickles and olives, sodium and kidney pressure, dried apricots, high potassium concentration, ready-made meals, invisible phosphorus, and a toxic mineral combination. None of these foods need to be eliminated from your life. What needs to change is the frequency, the quantity, and above all, the level of awareness you bring to what you're putting in your body. Your kidneys filter around 45 gallons of blood every single day. Every day, without stopping. They are silent, efficient, and remarkably resilient. But resilience is not infinite. And when the kidneys begin to fail, they don't send an early warning. Kidney health is one of the most neglected areas of self-care, precisely because symptoms appear late. Swelling, high blood pressure, persistent fatigue, foamy urine. By the time those signs show up, the underlying problem has usually been building for months or even years. If you made it to this point, you're already ahead of most people. Because most people never stop to think about the impact that everyday foods have on the organs that work in silence to keep life running. Share this video with someone you know who eats these foods every day, thinking they're doing themselves good. It could be a family member, a friend, or someone in your life who is on a health journey. And tell me down below, what state are you watching this video from right now? I've been seeing comments from so many different places, and I'm genuinely curious to understand where this content is reaching. Drop your state in the comments. It helps me understand who I'm talking to and create content that's more and more relevant to your reality.